Why is it that the more we chase wealth, the poorer we feel inside? At first, the question may sound strange. After all, isn't wealth supposed to solve our problems, to give us comfort, security, and freedom? But if you look closely, if you observe not just others but also yourself, you'll see a very different picture. The man or woman who runs endlessly after wealth often carries with them a deep emptiness. Their bank accounts may be full, but their hearts feel hollow. Their homes may be large, but their inner world is cramped with fear, comparison, and endless craving. Jiddu Krishnamurti once said that when the mind seeks security in external things, money, power, possessions, it is building a prison for itself. Think about that for a moment. A prison is not made only of walls or bars. A prison is also made of dependence. If your sense of worth depends on the next dollar, the next deal, the next possession, then you have chained yourself. And what happens to a chained mind? It loses its ability to be free, to be still, to discover beauty in life. Let's look at a simple example. Imagine a man who has worked for 30 years, accumulating wealth. On paper, he is successful. He has investments, houses, cars. People admire him. But every night when he lies down in bed, his mind races. He worries about losing what he has. He compares himself to those who have more. He fears being left behind. Inside he is restless, insecure, and lonely. Now ask yourself, what kind of wealth is this? Outwardly rich, but inwardly poor. That is the paradox Krishnamurti points to. The pursuit of wealth often begins with an innocent desire to live comfortably, to take care of one's family, to avoid hardship. These are natural impulses. But when desire turns into obsession, when money becomes not a means but the very measure of our identity, then poverty of the soul begins. You see, money can provide comfort, but it cannot give meaning. It can buy pleasures, but not peace. It can fill your house, but not your heart. Krishnamurti invites us to question this entire structure of pursuit. He does not say, "Don't earn a living." He says, "Observe the movement of your mind. See why you are chasing. See whether you are running after wealth because of fear or comparison or the hunger to feel important. The real issue is not money itself, but the psychological attachment to it. And attachment always breeds suffering." Think about how society conditions us. From a young age, we are told that success means more. More money, more possessions, more status. We grow up comparing ourselves, measuring ourselves against the neighbor, the coworker, the celebrity. And so we enter this endless race, not realizing that the race has no finish line. No matter how much you collect, there is always someone with more. And so the chase continues, and the emptiness deepens. What makes the heart poor is not the absence of money, but the presence of fear and craving. A poor man who lives simply without envy may be rich in spirit. A millionaire who is never content, who is always anxious, may be spiritually bankrupt. That's why Krishnamurti often said, the inward richness comes not from accumulation, but from understanding yourself. Pause for a moment and ask, when you look at your own life, what place does wealth have? Do you see money as a tool, or has it become your master? Do you work to live, or do you live only to work? These are uncomfortable questions, but without them, we remain trapped. To question is to begin to break free from the prison of society's expectations. Now you might wonder, if we don't pursue wealth, won't life fall apart? Who will pay the bills? Who will support the family? Here, Krishnamurti's teaching is subtle. He is not saying, abandon all responsibility. He is asking us to see clearly the difference between necessity and greed. To earn what is needed is one thing. To endlessly chase what is not needed is another. The problem begins when our lives are consumed by the unnecessary. Look at the culture around us. Advertisements constantly whisper, or rather shout, that we are not enough until we buy more. A new car will make us happy. A bigger house will make us respected. A luxury watch will prove our worth. And so we keep buying, keep accumulating, only to find that happiness slips through our fingers like sand. The system is designed to keep us hungry, to keep us chasing, never fulfilled. In that endless chase, the soul grows thinner and thinner until there is nothing left but the craving itself. Krishnamurti said something very striking. The more you know yourself, the more clarity there is. Self-knowledge has no end. You don't come to an achievement. You don't come to a conclusion. It is an endless river. What does this mean in the context of wealth? It means that real richness is not in the numbers of your bank account, but in the depth of your awareness. When you understand the movement of desire in yourself, when you see how greed arises and how fear clings, then you begin to touch a wealth that cannot be lost. So let us ask again, why is it that the pursuit of wealth creates poverty in the heart? It is because the chase itself is endless. When you are running after something without end, you are never at rest. And a mind that is never at rest cannot know peace. Imagine being on a treadmill that never stops. No matter how fast you run, no matter how hard you push, you are still in the same place. That is what the pursuit of wealth does. It keeps you running, exhausting yourself while the inner emptiness remains untouched. Krishnamurti often pointed out that desire has a peculiar nature. When one desire is fulfilled, another quickly takes its place. You get the car you wanted, and for a brief moment you feel satisfied. But then the mind begins to crave the next model, the next luxury. You get the promotion, and for a short while you feel important. But soon the glow fades, and the hunger returns. This cycle never ends. And the tragedy is that while you are chasing one desire after another, life itself is passing you by. Have you noticed how often people who are constantly chasing wealth cannot truly enjoy the simple things? A quiet evening, a conversation with a friend, the beauty of a sunset. These moments are lost on a mind that is always calculating, always planning, always wanting more. The heart becomes dull. Sensitivity to life fades. That is the poverty of the soul that Krishnamurti is pointing toward. Another dimension to this poverty is fear. The man who is attached to wealth lives in constant anxiety. What if the stock market crashes? What if my business fails? What if someone cheats me? His entire sense of identity is tied to things outside himself, things that can be lost at any moment. So his life becomes a constant battle to hold on, to secure, to defend. But what kind of life is that? A life lived in fear is not a rich life, no matter how much money you have. Let us go even deeper. The more we chase wealth, the more we strengthen the self, that image we have of who we are. I am successful, I am important, I am powerful. But this self is fragile, built on comparison and recognition. It demands constant feeding, and so the chase for wealth is really the chase for a stronger image of ourselves. But when you live in the shadow of an image, you cannot meet life directly. You are always concerned with protecting the image, polishing it, displaying it. That is another form of poverty, because you are cut off from the richness of direct experience. Krishnamurti would often ask his listeners, is it possible to live without comparison? To simply be, without trying to become more or less? If you sit quietly with that question, you may feel its radical challenge. Our entire culture is built on comparison. Who has more, who is better, who is ahead? But the moment you compare, you create poverty in yourself. You say, I am not enough. I must become something else. And in that movement, peace disappears. So the question is not merely about wealth, but about the structure of desire itself. Can we observe desire as it arises, without judgment, without suppression? When you see clearly how desire moves, you also see its futility. You see that no object of desire, no amount of wealth can fill the emptiness inside. Only then does the mind begin to quiet down, and in that quietness, a different kind of richness appears. A richness that has nothing to do with money, status, or possessions. What is this other kind of richness? It is the richness of awareness, of sensitivity, of love. When the mind is no longer chasing, it becomes capable of seeing things freshly. A tree, a bird, the smile of a child. These are no longer background details in a busy life. They shine with a clarity you may have forgotten. To notice beauty without wanting to possess it to care for another without expecting anything in return. This is wealth of the heart. But to come to this richness, one must first see the poverty that comes with endless pursuit. Seeing it is not the same as condemning it. If you condemn, you are already caught in judgment, in conflict. To see simply, directly, is to allow truth to reveal itself. When you see how the chase for wealth drains your spirit, you may naturally begin to step out of it. Not through willpower, not through discipline, but through understanding. Krishnamurti emphasized again and again, transformation is not a matter of effort. Effort belongs to the same realm of desire and achievement. Real transformation happens when you see clearly, and clarity itself is freedom. When you see the fire is hot, you don't need discipline to avoid touching it. In the same way, when you see how the chase for wealth creates fear, emptiness, and endless comparison, you naturally step aside from it. This stepping aside is the beginning of a new way of living. A life not driven by fear or greed, but by awareness. A life where work is done with care, but without obsession. Where money is used wisely, but not worshipped. Where the heart is free to love, and the mind is free to learn. True wealth is not measured in dollars or possessions, but in the depth of our awareness and the freedom of our hearts. When we stop chasing and begin to see clearly, life itself becomes rich. And in that richness, there is peace, joy, and a love that cannot be lost.